every man, if you don't have your family stuff together, all the success is really...
Yeah, it doesn't mean much. And then Jet went on. He's like, Ryky will be fine. Ryky doesn't need Jet to be successful. He doesn't need me or this team to be successful. He'll be fine. Yeah, I just felt like it was rejection. My philosophy in life is when I find something I like, I always ask, could I do it?
Hey there, I'm Ryky Tran. I run a YouTube channel called Burrfection. I'm an Amazon influencer. I specialize in knives and whetstones.
Welcome to The Art of Chef. I'm your host, Chef Yuki. Today, I have my special guest, Burrfection, Ryky Tran. Everyone. Welcome to the show, Ryky.
Thank you for having me. For those who are watching this right now, leave a comment below. Tell Yuki what you want him to ask. You can ask any questions that you want to ask me in the comments below, and I'll come back around to answer all your questions if I can.
Met Ryky last summer in LA, and he's a YouTuber. He was so gracious. You know, I was down there, and I didn't drive down there. I was just gonna Uber everywhere, but he drove and he had his car down there, and he was like, "Hey, how are you gonna get to class tomorrow?" I was like, He's like, "Let me give you a ride." I was like, "Okay, that's cool." And then every day he gave me a ride, and we were talking about stories, and then the story gets wilder and wilder. I mean, like, granted, I just met this guy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I hung out with Jet Li yesterday." I was like, "What?" It's crazy enough that I tell people that who I cook for, and people are like, "Oh, blah, blah, blah." But this guy is like a movie star, was hanging out with a movie star. And then he tells me that he used to be the stunt double for Jet Li. And then he tells me that he's going to do a knife collaboration with Jet Li. So I was just in disbelief, I would have to say, because I was like, "Oh no, come on, man. How the hell am I gonna just meet some random guy at some random noodle class, and he's like this actual famous person?" But there he is, and guess what? Here's that Ryky and Jet knife that he talked about a year ago making. This is a man of his word. I'm just gonna put it out there. But without further ado, can you tell us about some of the stuff you do? And I know you're not full-time YouTuber, right? You have a lot of other stuff to do going on, right?
Let's see. Well, I'm a full-time dad. That's the number one thing.
Yes. Oh, and shout out to his wife and my wife.
Our wives.
Yeah. Because they're at home watching all the children while we're here, enjoying each other's company and for your entertainment. So yeah, thank you.
Yes. Yay. As far as being I guess to answer your question, my full-time job, or is YouTube not my full-time job? I guess I'm going to step back a couple of seconds. The way he introduced me, it sounded like I was just rambling off, telling him everything on my resume, right? I'm meeting with Jet Li. I'm designing a knife with Jet Li. I'm his stunt double. It didn't just come across like in one sentence like that.
Sorry.
It was over the course of like 3 days of hanging out and like hours of just chilling. Because we spend, I don't know, from like 9 a.m. to like 5 or 6 p.m. every day for 3 days together. So we spent a significant amount of time together during class, and then we hung out, before class and after class. To answer your question about my full-time job, I tell everybody I'm a full-time parent first and foremost. Like 100%. that is my number one priority when I wake up every day and before I go to bed every night.
Yeah, and you do commit to your children.
I do my absolute best, right? I mean,
everything is surrounded, like even your hobby. Like he grows wasabi in his backyard as a hobby, and that was stemmed from wanting to spend more time with the kids, right?
Gardening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we garden together all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And on weekends especially. So on the weekends when it's not 110 degrees outside in the Sacramento heat,
Yeah.
we'll go to the backyard for 3 to 5 hours.
Oh wow! See, that's
And we'll just hang out. They'll help me shovel compost, move rocks, whatever it may be. Look for pests, get slugs, pick basil leaves. They do everything in the garden. And I just found out that my kids love gardening, every one of them. And so that developed my passion for gardening. And then years later, years down the road from when that all started, I discovered wasabi, right? So, and with me, just my philosophy in life is when I find something I like, I always ask, could I do it? Or could I do it better? If I can't do it better, can I do it? So I went to find some wasabi sources and bought a bunch of wasabi. And
well, he said a bunch. He bought a ton of wasabi. When normal people say a lot, you think like 5, 6 plants. That's a lot. One is a lot for me. How many plants did you buy?
About 300, give or take a couple. About 300.
That's his hobby, guys. And then so when you told a story when we were sitting with Martin Yan's team, right? What was her face? Vivian. Mm-hmm. Vivian was like, "Oh, so that's like your lab, right? Mm-hmm. Your wasabi is like your lab, right? Because you're tell us. So 300. You did them all differently. You raised them all differently.
Yeah. So I split up the groups. Split the wasabi into groups of 10 to 15. And I have them in different pot sizes. I have them in different growing media, different ratios of growing media. I have different cycles of fertilizing, different cycles of water. So it's so the 300 have been divided up to like 30 groups. And from that, I learned a lot, So it's with everything in life. It's not just with wasabi. It's whenever I explore something, I dive as deep as I possibly can. I invest whatever effort, whatever resources I have at it, and I learn every single thing that I can about it. So
would you say like that's like a new offshoot from a knife things, or the knife thing is still major? Because you just had a launch of a knife with outdoor chef guy,
outdoor chef life, Taku,
right? And you just released a knife with Jet Li, right? And then and you also have a Ryky X brand that does like culinary wares and stuff. Is that
no? Ryky X is my new collab name. So whenever I work with anybody, it goes under the Ryky X brand. So like Taku, it's Ryky X Taku with Jet, Ryky X Jet.
Right.
So it's a collab brand.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really a brand, meaning it's not like I'm not branding it as like Ryky X. It just happens to be like, it just kind of fell that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I have an obsession. It's kind of maybe you can call it unhealthy, but when I find a topic that I enjoy, I put everything into it. Sometimes it's paid off, and sometimes it doesn't pay off. So, it's just something I'm still trying to figure out. I'm addicted to learning. I think that's the easiest way I can put it. I have to constantly learn something, and it's something that I really enjoy. And yeah, so when I find a topic, I dig as deep as I can. But I guess you're trying to ask, like, is it taking away from my YouTube?
Mm-hmm. Or just because I know you have the Burrfection store, right? So that because I only do one thing. I serve a family, right? And I have help. I serve a family of 3 or 4 people, and I have help. So, and doing this podcast on top of that, it's already way too much for me, like capacity wise. But then I hear you, right? You have the Burrfection store. You which is what the number one Japanese knife store online. Okay, you know what? Let's not say number one if he doesn't want to be bragging. How about like the top, one of the top online Japanese knife store, right? That's huge. That's huge, right? You have your YouTube channel, and now you're doing you're studying the wasabi, and your first and foremost is the kids, you know. And what strikes me as shocking is that you're still living a very very well lifestyle. Like you know, you're not. It's so balanced. Where do you like? How do you get all these balance?
I think from the outside, you see the finished product, right? Or you're kind of seeing a. I wouldn't call it superficial, but you're seeing a segment of my life, right? When you hang out with me or when we hang out together. But I think I also have learned to prioritize like tasks throughout the week, throughout the day. So I don't do all of it at one time. I don't wake up in the morning and walk my dog, take my kids to school, go shoot a video, check my wasabi garden, check my e-store, go to the gym,
Right.
right? Spend time with the wife, pick up the kids from school. I don't do all of that, but everything around the kids and wife, I do every day. But as far as the businesses goes, like my collabs, they're broken. My collabs, my videos, my editing, my e-store, my design, knife designing, all of it are done in chunks at very segmented times. So I've learned that instead of trying to cram like 1,000 tasks into a single day, I break my weeks up into chunks. Or actually, I break my months up into chunks of weekly tasks. So 1 week, it may be only video shooting. And then the next week, only editing. And then the next week, only work with my material suppliers, my blade suppliers, my metal suppliers to source what I need. The next week would be talking to the designers I'm working with, the collab people I'm working with. So for me at least, because of how my schedule is at home, I have to work around that schedule. And for me, the most efficient way is not to do 1,000 tasks of all my businesses in one day. Take each business, each idea, put them to either separate days or separate weeks.
Okay.
That's how I manage my life.
No, that's great because your story is interesting. Because not that he only talked about Jet Li when I first met him, but he also shared, throughout meeting with him, he also share his story. I think it's always interesting to see. It's always interesting to see someone super successful like yourself. Okay, so someone successful, right? They got their shit together, right? You have business. You have a good out of the box career, right? You have family. You have wife. Home. You're living super comfortable. You see what, like you said, the outside is balance, right? But it was not always like that. All right. You said you started, you were homeless at one point, right? So a lot of this podcast, I think it's about inspiring others to see the interesting story, or the interesting success story here, and get inspiration to do something for themselves, right? So would you mind sharing kind of like your backstory of because how you share it with us?
Well, I don't talk about this topic a whole lot, and
well, you don't go on shows a lot either, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Tell what you can tell.
No, I can tell it all.
Okay.
I think what I was getting to was I don't talk about this a lot because when this detail came out a couple of different times in the media, the very first 3 questions that everyone would ask me is, how were you homeless? How'd you get out of it? And that became kind of the defining conversation piece, it's a big deal, right? To go from that circumstance to where I am now. Hands down, I've gotten really lucky. I've done a lot of things wrong, but I got a few things right, and I am where I am now, partly because of where I was during that time in my life. But what I don't want is, I don't want I don't want my success and all my or any of my failures to be directed towards that one thing, right?
Fair.
At some point, we have to move beyond that. Meaning, sure, yes, I was homeless. I had to live out of my car for a while. But at some point, that cannot be my defining reason for success. And that cannot be my defining reason for failure. So that's the first part of my answer. But as far as what happened, I this is way back in 2000 when it all happened. I dropped out of high school. My senior year of high school, I dropped out. I was living in Boston. And I thought I wanted to be an actor in Hollywood. I don't know what gave me that idea, but I wanted to move out to LA. So in February, I want to say February or March of 2000, I dropped out of high school and moved to LA with 2 suitcases and $300 in my pocket. And I slept on the floor of a distant uncle for a couple of weeks. And then I got a job in Hollywood, like not in Hollywood, but in like an acting school, acting studio in Hollywood. And I met a guy who he was doing the same job I was. He's like, hey, are you new to LA? You know, where do you live? I lived in Orange County, which is like an hour away. He goes, oh, dude, like I'll talk to my landlord. We've got an extra room you can rent. So I rented that room for like 3-4 months. And then one day out of the blue, out of the blue for me, not for the landlord, but he's like, hey, I'm selling the house. I need you, and you gone, right? So I said, oh, okay. I mean, it's life. I understood. He wasn't being rude. Yeah, he just said, hey, I'm selling the house, and the house is going to be closing in like a month or something. I need you guys all out. So he gave us a month of notice, and I had nowhere to go. I didn't have that many friends in LA at the time. I had just moved there, 4 months ago. And I was like, oh, well, okay, I guess I'm going to have to sleep out of my car for a while. So that's what I did. I found a safe spot within the neighborhood that I kind of knew because I had a couple friends there. And I slept in my car on the sidewalk, or parked next to the sidewalk. And there was a park across the street that I would go and wash up every day, early in the morning, the park rangers open those gates up at doors at 4:30, 5 a.m. I go there, I clean up. And then I had a job in Hollywood. It was at a management company, so a talent agency. So I would go there at, like an hour before everyone got there. If I needed to use the restroom or something or wash up there, I'd wash up there. I'd always be I'd be at the office early, always on time.
That's a blessing in disguise, huh? It shows like you're like that person.
I had awesome work ethics, right? So yeah, that went on for the whole summer of 2000. Yeah, and that was it. And then after that, some guys at the church I was going to, they heard about my situation. They said, hey, we have a couch. We don't have a room. We have a couch. You can stay on our couch for as long as you need. And yeah, so I slept on the couch. There with 3 or 4 other dudes in the house. And that December, I was on the couch for like 4 months at this one,
Wow.
Yeah, 3 or 4 months. I got a call from a casting agent. They were doing Jet Li's new movie called The One.
Yeah, I love The One.
Yeah. So I wasn't being called in to go and audition for the movie. They needed they didn't really tell me what it was for. They just said we need some background actors to come in to do some hair cutting or clothing, some fittings.
Oh, okay.
So that's all it was. That's all I knew. So I showed up to this room and there were like 24 other Asian guys right there, right? And half of us look the same. We're all the same height. Half of us are the same height, and the other half are like either really big or really tall, right? They just didn't fit the mold, so to speak. And the director comes in, or the assistant director comes in. First thing, he looks at everybody. He goes, "You." Like, this is after like 2 or 3 hours of sitting there. No one really knows what we're doing, and then the assistant director comes in. He goes, "You," or he points at 3 of us. You 3 stay, and everyone else can go home. So everyone else goes home, and now it's down to just like 2 or 3 guys, right? And so one guy goes in and gets a haircut. Okay, you're good. You can go home. Another guy wants to go get his haircut. Okay, good. You go home. And then it was me. I'm the last person there. And I go get my haircut, and Jet comes walking in at the same time. Like, I'm like, oh shoot, that's Jet, right? Like I've spent my entire childhood watching this guy, and here he is, like in the flesh. And he just kind of looks at me and nods. And then they cut my hair. Jet says, okay, that hair is good. I approve that haircut. I guess I guess the official thing they were doing was they were getting a hairstylist for the production, and they needed to know that the hairstylist can cut hair. So I was a hair.
Wasn't even looking for anything you were doing. You were like a hair dummy.
Yeah, I was a hair dummy. Right. Yeah. So that happened, and then they sent me to a room, like a waiting room, the same waiting room. They was like, okay, go ahead and go wait in the waiting area. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm gonna wait around. So then they called me into the stage where they're like, I didn't know what a stage was. A stage is where the sets, where they build sets. Like you might find this room in a huge room the size of a football field. So that's right, stage.
The stage, yeah.
Yeah. So we go inside, and there's lighting guys, and there's sets being built for the movie. There's a bunch of actors there. There's Jet, and there's all these other actors there. And they said, Ryky, come stand over here. And they call me B, like Team B.
Okay.
Like Jet's Team A, I'm Team B, right? I'm like, what's Team B? I had no idea what I was doing. But they said, all right, look this way, look that way, turn this way, turn that way. And then after like an hour of doing that, Jet came in, stood next to me. They said, okay, both of you guys look at each other, turn left and right. And
oh, you are the opposite of him on the one.
Yeah,
because it wasn't completely digital. Like maybe the face of it digitalized.
There were digital scenes, but there were also scenes where they had. Well, there's 5 of us. There's 5 guys my size and Jet size. There, 4 of them or 3 of them were from Hong Kong, like China and Hong Kong. They were his stunt team from Asia. Like they travel with him, do all the movies they've done, or he does. They're with him, so they're his official stunt team. And I was they call it the stand-in or the photo double in America. That's what I was. And so we did that for like a half an hour or something like that. And then all of a sudden, like out of the corner of my eye, I see like a flashlight coming towards me, right? And I didn't know what it was, but I caught the flashlight as it came across my head. Like it came across my body, and I caught it. And like then people started clapping. I'm like, oh, was that yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a flashlight.
Someone just threw it at you?
Mm-hmm. And
on purpose?
On purpose, yeah.
And you like just
and then
Jet caught it?
Yeah, they were like, okay, he's hired. Right?
And now, a quick break. We hope you're enjoying this episode of The Art of Chef. If you're listening to us on your podcast app, we want to invite you to watch these episodes again on our YouTube channel. This is a completely different entertainment experience. Especially during our guest interviews, we love to spice things up with GIFs and other visuals that really bring the episodes to life. So don't be a stranger. Subscribe to The Art of Chef on YouTube and download episodes wherever you get your podcasts.
And then like, so everyone, okay, hands clap, and everyone's gonna, like, I guess they're striking for the day. They're getting ready to go home. And then at the end of the day, the AD, the assistant director, comes up. He goes, hey, listen, we have a movie we're shooting with Jet in about a month. We would like you to be his stand-in and photo double. Would you like to work on the film? I said, yeah. So that's kind of that was my major break. That was your
Hollywood break.
Yeah, that was that defined everything after that. Right.
So you told me about inspiration part where Jet and you parted ways. And the way Jet put it, that Ryky doesn't need Jet Li to be successful. Like he saw the abundance in you all those many years ago. Can you share that little bit? I think that was really cool part.
Yeah, that was at the end of the very first movie we worked on together. And I remember we're in Redondo Beach. We're in this electric plant, this massive electric power plant in Redondo Beach. It's still there, but I think they only use it for filming. But we're in the set in this location. I want to say for like 3-4 weeks. It's a big spot that we shot at. And there was this one day, and it's towards the end of the production. We're hanging out there, and there's a guy named Corey Yuen. Corey Yuen's a Hong Kong actor and action choreographer. And Corey says to Jet, and this is 3 of us. We're just hanging around. And he says something in Cantonese. Corey speaks a little bit of English, not a whole lot, but he says something to Jet in Chinese, and I understood like half of it. And then there was another person there who is the team liaison. So he handles all of the logistics with Jet's team, between Jet's team and Jet in the production. And he looks at me, he goes, "Hey, Corey just suggested that Jet take you like with him, be a part of his entourage, right?" And I was shocked because I didn't think that conversation was going to happen, right?
Like his posse.
Yeah, yeah. But you know,
And you were young back then, like 18.
I was
19,
18. Yeah.
Oh man, what an opportunity.
Or I think I had just turned 19.
Okay.
But either way, I was a kid, and Jet doesn't bat an eye. He doesn't look at me and he just responds right back at Corey without looking at me. I was just there. I mean, he would look at me and talk, but he basically just said, he went on this like 1 minute rant, 2 minute rant, but all in Chinese, right? All in Cantonese, all in Mandarin. And then David looks at me. He goes, "This is what he said. He's like, Jet likes you. You're really clever. You're smart. You move well. You'll be great in the team." But he says you don't need to be on the team. Like he says you don't need the opportunity that the team's going to provide for you. And I kind of just sat there and took it in. And then Jet went on. He's like, "Ryky will be fine. Ryky doesn't need Jet to be successful. He doesn't need me or this team to be successful. He'll be fine." And he says, "This opportunity will be better reserved for somebody else one day." And that was it. And that conversation, I didn't walk away crying. I just was like, I was a little shocked.
Yeah. How do you feel? How do you feel? Like, did you say, "Oh, dang, I missed out," or like, did you?
Initially, I thought that Jet. To me initially was like a rejection. Like Jet didn't want me on his team at all, right?
Of course, at 18, I mean, at the young age, yeah, I'd be crying. I'd be crying.
Yeah,
I'd be crying hard. I'd be like, "Hey, Jet, are you sure? I won't eat a lot.
Yeah.
I travel light. I'll carry your bags. I'll wash your underwear."
Yeah. So for a long time, it was I just felt like it was rejection, and
at what point do you feel that was the feel like that's something that gave you the momentum to go forward, or?
Oh man, well, I don't think there was a specific moment, but there were a few things that kind of happened along the way. Like, so that movie wrapped soon after that incident. I call it the incident. After that conversation,
Yes.
it wrapped, right? We're done.
Your hopes and dream just went.
Yeah, it's gone,
squashed.
right?
You're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I get to travel international star with the posse," and now he said, "Nah, I don't need you.
Yeah,
You don't
it's
need
gone.
me."
Yeah. But he lived not far away at the time. He was living in a little city called Arcadia. So he had a really nice house in Arcadia.
Yeah, nothing is little, or it's Arcadia.
When you're a superstar, nothing is little, right? But he invited me over. He says, "Hey, I was good friends with his assistant. I was good friends with his media team. He had a team that took care of his website, his business, in LA, and they would call me over. Hey, come over, play badminton with us. Where do I go? Oh, to Jet's house. Oh,
he has a badminton court.
yeah, in his house. Yeah, he loves badminton. He's good too. He's really, really good. But I come over and he'd invite me to play badminton. Right, we're cool. And so then we went through the whole next year that way, and then.
Oh, it's just in like a friendly.
Yeah, we're just hanging out. Yeah.
See, that's huge, bro.
Yeah, so
that's huge because I don't have that with my boss.
oh yeah,
I don't have. See, you can if you would have stuck with Jet, you'd be kind of. See, this is good to look at. I wish I have a relationship like that.
oh yeah.
Like he no, yeah, he wouldn't
No,
he
it's
wouldn't want to
different.
say yeah.
It's different.
That's huge, man. That's amazing.
And then I got word from his assistant that another movie is shooting the following year called Cradle to the Grave.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, "Hey, you want to come work on the film?" I said, "Yeah." See, he's like, "All right, same role. That's your gig. You're
So 2 films you did,
2 films, yeah, back to back.
like 4 years.
2 years.
2 years.
2 years, yeah, total. Well, each film took between. I think the one took a long. Well, let's just say it took between 4 and 6 months per film. And because you have reshoots and you have like extra things you got to pick up every once in a while, but it's about 4 to 6 months of shooting time. But to answer your question about like when that comment clicked, it wasn't until like I've never looked at myself and said, "All right, I'm successful." Right? I just work hard.
I look at you and I tell you you're successful.
Oh,
You don't have to look at yourself.
Yeah. I don't tell people I'm successful. Not because I don't believe I'm successful, but it's just I don't value.
You're one of the humblest guy I know.
No.
Everybody that has met you, you deserve a lot more ego and arrogant around you, and you're all humble pie. Take credit for that. That's amazing. Yeah.
Thank
your
you.
humanity. Is that the word? Humanity.
Humility.
Humility. Yes.
Yeah.
Humility.
I never, in conversation, I never say, "Hey, look at my life, follow what I do because I'm successful." People have called me that. They look at me and they, "Hey, you're successful." I say I have it all, not from a financial success standpoint, but I have a wife who loves me and 3 kids who are healthy and they love me. Like that to me is my definition of success.
People say to know a man, watch him with his kids and his dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you see Ryky and his kids and his dog, they all run to him, joyful with glee, right? That says a lot, right? Because if you don't have the real relationship with them, they're not gonna show you that love. So yes, take that, the balance, the family, the bond you guys have.
Yeah, I work hard. I do my absolute best to be present with my kids, and that's part of why I don't have a job, right? Meaning like I've left a lot of money on the table with my YouTube channel. I've had lots of big companies offer really big paychecks to be their face or to license my name, to design a knife with them. But it would also require me to be away from my family a significant amount of time. So I knew that. And so I've had to make the decision to choose my kids and my family always first. So yeah, so so a lot of people may look at and may define my success from a financial standpoint, but I'm more successful in my home family life than I am
100%. Yeah,
right?
no, he's really yeah. The family dynamic, the way his wife talks about him, it's hard to believe that he's genuinely that good of a guy. Like we always say, but you know what? Everybody I talk to, Shannon, Martin, everybody, and we're like, man, Ryky's just a really good guy, and everybody's like, man, Ryky's just a really good guy, unbelievably good guy. No, so you should own that, and where you are now. So you don't do much on the YouTube. Well, you do some, like a couple of videos a year nowadays, 3-4 year video a year.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time with the kids. You have new knife product coming out. Anything else? What's next? Because you know what? Whenever I post your stuff on Instagram or YouTube, people always come out of the woodwork. It's like, oh, is Ryky still alive?
Still alive.
So you left like 300,000 people dry, bruh. What is this? Is there gonna be any like rejuvenation of the Burrfection? Like, are we gonna see a different venture? Maybe like your new thing you drive into. Like if right now it's wasabi, I don't know. Down the road it'd be something else. But anything.
Well, wasabi is a hobby, a gardening hobby, and I do shoot content for it because I enjoy it. And there's so little of wasabi content on the web that I feel like I should post exactly what I am seeing. So that is just a strictly hobby perspective. Like I'm only doing it for fun. Burrfection is still, I would say, it's still my baby in a sense that I've neglected for a while. Not because of any I didn't neglect it on purpose, but there were a lot of things that happened leading up to like me. Why am I only posting 3 or 4 videos a year? So there were a lot of things that happened. Like 2 years ago, I got like a really bad lung infection that took me out for like
Oh no, I didn't know that.
6 months. Where
wow.
yeah, so I had a really bad like health scare.
Oh, I thought you got robbed, and then you're like, oh, forget this.
Well, that was like 2 years, like earlier. That was like 3 years ago. I got my studio got burglarized, so I lost a ton of gear. So I had to rebuild them. Financially, I was recovered. I was made whole, soon after that because I got the
Many
insurance
times over,
payback.
yeah.
I lost money on when that happened, but I got back most of what I spent.
Yeah.
But it was more like I didn't want to be at the studio anymore. Like I didn't want to like go into it.
Yeah, because you moved it home for a little bit too, like the studio.
Yeah, so I moved it back home, and then when I was back home, it was tight and it was hot. I lived in the Sacramento area, so it's hot. So I can't be here. I can't.
I need AC.
Yeah, but the AC is loud. And
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
anyway, so I finally found a new studio in which I moved into, and then
Top secret location.
sort of, not really, but.
There's security guards everywhere with AK-47s. Don't go over there.
I started a new series where I was learning how to sharpen katanas. Right? So this was like a new thing. I announced it. Everyone was really excited. And then a few months after I started that, my sensei committed suicide.
Oh,
yeah. So that I think that to me, if I can like say to you, what is one thing that stopped me from making any videos? It was that event.
Was he here? Was he in Japan?
He was in the East Coast, so in Philadelphia, I think his city. Yeah, but yeah, it was the strangest thing because we talk on the phone once a week, once every other week, frequently. I was buying a bunch of things and to get ready for the studio. I shipped him a bunch of things, and then, and then one day, like 2 weeks after we haven't talked, I kept having this inkling, like this feeling I should call him and just say hello, and then I got an email from his son. He goes, "Hey, so and so is no longer around." It was a really short email, and he says, "I think I have a few of your things. Give me your address. I'll send it to you." So I wrote back. I said, "Hey, like, where is so-and-so? Let's just call him Bob." I'm like, "Where's Bob?" And he wrote back. He says, "Bob's gone." I said, "Can you be more specific? Did he pass away? Did he?" And he says he killed himself. I said, "Oh." So yeah, so that was like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago when it all happened. And that I can say like that event, like kind of just like I didn't want to sharpen any knives anymore. I didn't want to hold a sharp knife anymore because like then now the visuals in your head, like did he kill himself with a sword? Like yeah, like what did he do? What did he do? And I don't have any details of it. And then so after that happened, I was it took me a few months to kind of get through the emotions of it, and I think besides those negative things that happened, for me, the thing is, I want to see my children grow. Like nothing else matters that much to me. I just want to see them grow. Like I don't want them to ever say, "Dad wasn't there when we were growing up." I don't ever want to say, "Oh, I missed that moment because I was in Japan."
Or successful shooting.
Whatever, yeah. And those are maybe extreme to say that, but
I don't think so.
Yeah, like for me, it's like I don't, I don't care about the financial success. Like I don't. Like I said, I've left a lot of money on the table with my channel.
And you've done well without. Right,
I've
without
done
it.
okay.
Yeah.
You know, I could pay for gas when I need gas, or
Well, no, he doesn't need gas.
or I can pay my rent.
Yeah, no, he's being humble. He's,
I can buy a pack of gum if I ever needed gum.
That's right. If I need a pack of gum, he'll buy me gum too.
So I do okay. I do okay. I've learned that you're around financially wealthy people, and this is not to call your boss out or any of his friends. I will say, and this actually happened in a conversation with someone very, very successful, like billionaire status, and we were in a room. We sat down one night, and it was a couple, and they said to me, we'll give everything away to have what you have, like
exactly,
you know, and I was like, what is it? We want to have love and have kids love us and to have a family that's happy. Like their kids hooked on drugs, like all sorts of crazy things, right? Stuff that you typically hear about, like why don't you want to be wealthy? Like their kids were the prime example. The typical billionaire status, the kids do what they want, parents have no control, and kids are always getting in trouble, right? And parents have to pay tons of money to bail them out of trouble. And they said, we just want kids like yours. We just want to have we just want to have our kids loving us and just having a happy marriage.
Yeah, good.
They were also struggling in their marriage too, right?
The abundance you have is definitely hundreds of times better than normal rich people. Like any rich people. The only reason why I say normal rich people is because I work with the man that's different, right? He is the smartest man I know. He says a happy wife, happy life, right? And he hires me. He's had me for 14 years. He pay me regular people salary to cook for his family so that he can have dinner at home with his wife and daughters as many nights as possible when he's home. When he's traveling, the wife and the daughters have dinner together. If they're both traveling, either grandma, the time that you spent, my boss have spent over millions. He spent millions of dollars to get that one dinner time to spend with his family that you get to have. Like people, you can buy it to a certain point, right? He buy me to provide that time for him, right? And so that's why he has, to me, he's like a better off billionaire because his family stuff seems to be decent, right?
His family life is together, right?
Right, and that's it. Like every man, if you don't have your family stuff together, all the success is really doesn't amount.
It doesn't mean much.
No, it doesn't when you go home and there's no love, right? And I hear so many times where people, I even myself blame my parents for chasing success, right? You hear kids say, the more successful my parents got, the less time we got to spend with them, right? And then they start having this hate towards your career that you built, that you fell in love with, so that's all that tension. So you not putting your choice of putting down YouTube, right? For me, like I wouldn't, because it was working really well for you, right? To say, I want to spend some more time with my family, right? But you continually with creating new opportunity with the knives, right? With the Ryky X, right? With many, many things to come. Because I know when you were, when I first met you, you sold like all of your equipment, like $10,000 worth of equipment. Like it was like that video, and then I saw you in LA.
Yeah, right? I've sold a few things off,
Right.
Yeah.
So then you're like, I'm going to travel around the world to go learn from masters of how to cook, right? In kitchens. And I think you've been to a few places, right? And at the time, a year ago, I didn't really have the capacity, but now at my job, at my gallery, I actually have a team big enough to do some events. So next week we're hosting 40 people for my boss's private art gallery, for the art curator who is their art mentor. His 70th birthday, and Fred needs help in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
We were gonna see if you're down.
Have you seen my Have you seen my chopping skills?
No. I know you're gonna have sharp knives. So hopefully you bring a good one from your house, because to cut that, so we have Iberico ham for you to cut. Okay, so that's you can have fun with it, right? Like, when you go to a regular restaurant, they're not gonna be like, oh yeah, Ricky, go mess with the Iberico ham. But we're gonna give you the expensive ingredients to play with, just like here with all the Wagyu meat and the toros and stuff. And then you're really good at doing dishes.
Mm-hmm.
So you would be our celebrity dishy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who's showing up to this thing?
What's that?
Who's showing up to this event?
These are well, it's private. I can't tell you, but these are like
beyond A class celebrities.
No, not like that. It's like not like people you actually know, but people that you want.
They're behind the scenes.
Yeah, because they're like the people that runs the art galleries, people that runs the auctions.
Oh, okay.
See, Ricky, I'm trying to paint you as this artist. Like, I know, like he's being humble and all that stuff, but I'm trying to bring Ricky into my circle, right? Into my circle as the artist of the knife designer, right? I'm actually becoming a Ricky knife collector. All right. And watch. You're gonna see Ricky's knife in like an exhibit with his. I'm gonna put an art show together. That's like the Ricky and his knives and his YouTube, and just I think this show is called The Art of Chef. What you do is more artsy and chefy than what I'm doing. So I'm so glad that you came on the show. But before we go, can you tell us about there's 4 knives here, only 2 is available for purchase. Can you tell them just briefly?
So the long knife that we see there, that's kind of it was what we call a sakimaru. Yeah, so that's a katana blade, katana style yanagiba or a tsuchihiki, right? A slicer. It's a katana style slicer, and that was made by Tanaka. And Tanaka, you bought it because Fred's name's Tanaka, right?
Yes, and I also got the Damascus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's what you used to cut, sushi with,
right,
or
the
large
big
fillets
meat, yeah.
with. The knife next to it, that's the Ryky White No. 2. So that was my second knife that I ever released with my name on it, and that's using White No. 2 core steel and octagonal handle, hand forged. I think it's a pretty good knife.
That's great. That's what I use for sushi.
Yeah, and then the knife next to that one, that's the Jet knife. That's the Ryky X Jet. That's made by Nigara, one of my absolute favorite knife makers in Japan.
Samurai sword maker.
Yeah, they go way back to the samurai days, and it's made by 2 bladesmiths that work in the factory, and they have 2 interns. But yeah, technically one of the best knives I've ever released. And that's the Nobu. So Nobu is a company that I've been working with. They were started by a couple of Japanese knife designers in Japan, but they still make knives in Japan, but they also just are trying to explore other ways to make knives more affordable, more fun. So they approached me to design some stuff with them. This is one of the first knives that this is like version 2, one of the knives I work with them with, or designed with them. And then another version is the Taku knife. So this is the precursor to that one.
Right.
Yeah, with the taller blade, custom octagonal handle that I designed. I designed that handle, and I also chose some really interesting materials that they said they could make. So that's what that knife is.
No, that's beautiful. And all the knives you create is beautiful. And where can they find these knives?
You can find them on Yuki's Instagram channel.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I try to pimp his stuff on burrfection.com.
Burrfectionstore.com. There's all you can go to burrfection.com and you just go to the store link. Yeah. But yeah, I don't advertise my knives much right now. And
no, he doesn't do any advertisement. But I kind of made it to my goal. Like I always ask him, hey, how many is left? And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go do some posts. Like I feel like I want to be his like unofficial knife hustler.
My PR agent.
That's right. Yeah, no, it's great because not a lot of people get access to these knives. And once you get your hand on it, like you see the Uni with Yuki segment where Ryky was using the Ryky and Jet knife to cut through like everything like butter. Like he cut through the Wagyu.
Yeah, they're impressively sharp. There's a reason why people love Japanese knives. They're very well designed.
Yeah, and if you're a chef nowadays, you know these knives. Everybody's using them. Yeah. So go get your knife from burrfectionstore.com. Shipping is always free, right? And or super quick.
I think so. Yeah, very quick.
Thank you so much, Ryky, for coming. All right, man.
Thank you. All right, thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'm your host, Chef Yuki. This is Ryky Tran. Burrfection. See y'all next time. Peace.
Thanks for joining us today. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode, it only takes a moment to post a positive rating and review. Your support allows us to grow the community and reach more extraordinary people just like you. And come check out the Art of Chef YouTube channel on your next lunch break. We'd love to see you there. Thanks again for listening. See you in the next episode.